The biology lecture is about DNA and RNA. In the PPT, from the left to right are butterflies, flowers and dolphins and other animals. They look different, but actually, they are interconnected. All creatures are based on genetic and inherited information. Cells are the foundation of building organs, within which the same chemicals are contained. All cells have DNA and RNA, which are used for storing and transmitting genetic and inherited material. All organs have metabolism systems, which convert energy from one form to another by chemical reaction. DNA-RNA is to record and transmit genetic information 23% from each parent. Talent is premium and there is a war for talents in 1990s because of the talent shortage. Companies and countries are recruiting young talented people from different countries and sending young people to universities. Some young people immigrated after they graduated from the university. They compete with the local students. Countries and organizations should put talents at the primary positions. The collapse of loyalty makes employees happy to change their workplace because for the higher income. There are 3 reasons. First, the change of nature of economy leads to increase in the talents demand and skills needed. Second, the shrinking labor force after the baby boom causes less supply of skilled workers and the retirement of baby boomers will cause a shortage of experienced workers. Third, there is also a mismatch between what schools are producing and what companies need. I think there is an intense competition at the moment to hire the most talented and the most intellectually able people. There is a time when I think companies have many of the adventures in the world. That involves the company's world. It was the boss's world. Now I think the reverse is the case. We have a shortage of talent base within countries and between countries, have an intense battle between companies to hire the most talented workforce and also between countries, which are looking to recruit talented young people, talented young immigrants. We have this sense of immigrants being things that countries are battled to keep out, and immigrants want to get in, climb up the walls. I think the opposite isn't the case. And the topic is that countries are trying to lure bright young people to get them to go to universities and get them to become immigrants. So, on many levels, talent is a premium. There is a shortage of talent, and so, countries, companies, all sorts of organizations, of course, volunteer organizations as well as, are competing to hire the best and the brightest. You know, we have a baby boom population which is aging. We have an economy which is becoming more sophisticated. And so, for all those sorts of reasons, talent is a premium. The amount of money drug companies spend on TV ads has doubled in recent years. And it's no wonder, studies show the commercials work. Consumers go to their doctors with a suggestion for a prescription drug they saw advertised on TV. Now a study in the Annals of Family Medicine raises questions about the message these ads promote, NPR's Patty Naiman reports. You're most likely to see drug ads during prime time, especially around the news. Researchers analyzed 38 ads aimed at people with conditions like hypertension, herpes, high cholesterol, depression, arthritis, and allergies. The drug industry says the ads arm consumers with information. But researchers found that though the information was technically accurate, the tone was misleading. UCLA psychologist Dominic Frosch headed the study. What we would see in these ads is that, before taking the prescription drug, the character's life was out of control and the loss of control really extended beyond just the impact of the health condition. For example, herpes patients were portrayed as being incapacitated for days, insomniacs utterly out of sync on the job, and depressed patients friendless and boring at parties. When the character is then shown taking the drug, he then magically regains complete control of his life. None of the ads, of course, mentioned lifestyle changes that could also help treat the condition. After all, it's mass marketing. But in this case, Frosch says, prescription medications are not like soap. under appropriate conditions, mind you. Sound receptors. You've got sound receptors in your ear, and they are beautiful. We're not going to talk about them at any length, but there's these little spiky things going along in your ear, and they can translate vibrational energy coming from your ear, hurting your eardrum, being translated into a vibration into the fluid in your ear, into a physical motion of these little receptors there, into an electrical motion, into an electrical signal that goes into your ear. So, all of that's pretty impressive stuff. We're not going to talk about the details of it, but I invite some of you who want to learn more about this, particularly MIT students, I think find receptors really quite remarkable kinds of devices. During the time of the Aztecs, cocoa was mainly used as a beverage. Wines and drinks were made from white pulp around the seeds of the cocoa pod. The beans themselves were used to make hot or cold chocolate drinks. Both the Maya and the Aztec secular drinks used roasted cocoa beans, a foaming agent, sugar, toasted corn, and water. Vanilla and/or chili were also used as an ingredient in the drinks. Cocoa beans were also used as a currency and as a tribute tax from peoples ruled by Aztecs. The oily layer floating in the chocolate drink, cocoa butter, was used to protect the skin against the sun. For the Aztecs, cocoa had religious significance. Cocoa was believed to be of divine origin. The cocoa tree was a bridge between earth and heaven. Human sacrifices to propitiate God or sun were first sanctified by giving him chocolate. Cocoa beans were given to priests' assistants at children's coming-of-age ceremonies. During marriage ceremonies, the couple drank a symbolic cup of chocolate and exchanged cocoa beans. Aztecs believed that drinking chocolate gave mortals some of Quetzalcoatl wisdom, god of learning and of the wind. The debt today is so high, it's 200,000 rupees, 300,000 rupees of peasant who have no capital. They who know within a year or two, when they accumulate that kind of debt, they never able to pay back. Where is the debt coming from? It's coming from a seed that is costing 100,000 to 200,000 rupees per kilogram, depending on what you got. Seed that used to be free, used to be theirs. Pesticides each time, the more they use, the more they have to use, 12 sprays, 15 sprays, 20 sprays. Pesticides used in just the last 5 years in the land areas of India has shot up by 2,000%. That's why the free market and globalization have brought, and since we are talking about peasants who have no money, who have no capital, they can only buy expensive seeds and expensive pesticides by borrowing. And who lend that money? The seed companies that sell the pesticides, which are the same companies that sell the seeds, as you know, are now also the major creditors. Amory Lovins is an American consultant experimental physicist, and he has been active at the nexus of energy, resources, economy, environment, development, and security in more than 50 countries for over 40 years. He pays attention on energy saving and how to use energy in a more efficient and sustainable ways. He built a house with plenty of energy-saving concepts. He's an unusual character with a wide range of knowledge and a genius, but he's not a scientist. He has a consulting company and lives in the mountains. For 30 years, he used a lot of ways to save energy and solved problems with technologies that already existed and demonstrated them. Some people think he is so crazy. A female writer wrote a book about him which is called Mr. Green. Before we consider international environmental law and climate change, we need to consider domestic legislation, as it is within the sovereign states that international law is put into practice. This reflects the environmentalists' maxim, think globally, act locally. United Kingdom legislative control over the impacts of man's activity on the environment is not new. As long ago as the reign of Charles II, the main concern was the production of smoke from the burning of sea coal. Almost all areas of trade and industry were subject to very detailed legislative controls at that time, although some were governed by self-regulation in the form of guilds, who regulated both supply and methods of production. However, the measures implemented were mostly ineffective, because then, as now, the specifying of legal duties and standards without providing any appropriate enforcement merely indicated good intentions but were of little practical effect. The next stage was prompted by the Industrial Revolution with the urbanization of society and its profound effects on the environment. Local industrialists used the Adam Smith model to maximize their economic benefit, but this was to the detriment of the local environment with the operation of Gresham's law, that is, the bad drives out the good. Those industrialists who were concerned for either the health of their employees or the local environment faced higher costs than their competitors. There has always been the lively debate of power sharing. Who should have the power? There is an issue of moving power to people or moving power from away from federal to state. That power system is private power. There is a need to modify government powers. One aspect is devolution, transfer power from federal government to state government. The different opinions are holding by the Democratic Party and the Republican Party created persistent debate. While the Democratic Party claims that government should hold the big power and the entitlements, the Republicans believe government should share its powers with the states and people. However, government holding the power normally means taking power away from people.